And usually, if I was even in the hallway, teachers would always be on me, like, what are you doing out here? Get to class, all that, or whatever. And I just remember him sitting down with me for like an hour, and he said to me, isn't it ironic how we've been sitting out here and the principal and teachers have walked past us and nobody said anything? And he was introducing Christ to me, telling me that, you know, what you're doing with these girls is wrong. You know, it's against the Bible. And I'm like, what's the Bible? And he started to tell me about Jesus and all that. And it was a really exciting day. I was just all bubbly. Like, I want to know more about God, you know, like, who is this man? And he brought me to church that night, and I accepted Christ. I was 15. I accepted Christ in my life, and I got saved. I got baptized that night, and I spoke in tongues. I was like, what am I doing? Pastor was like, no, just let it out. I'm like, what? But, you know, but anyways, I ended up going to school the next day, and I broke up with her. And, you know, like, I had these friends. They were negative, but they were all I had in my mind. And I just remember them always from that day when I broke up with her, when I literally said, you know, I can't be with you. It's wrong. It's against God and all this and that. And she just turned the whole school against me within an instant. And I couldn't handle it. Like, all that pain, you know, from high school and childhood and all that just bottled up inside, you know, and I just exploded. And I was like, I can't take this. I'm dropping out. I'm never going back to school. And I didn't for a while. I ran away to the streets at 15 with nothing on my back, and I got really involved with guys because, you know, I was never accepted. I never had the acceptance that I was looking for. And when I go to the streets, you guys know, you know, walk down the street, every guy says, hey, Shawty, how you doing? Or, you know, what's up, Ma? You know, what's your name, kind of thing. And I was just grabbing onto it because I was like, what is this? Why is everybody liking me? Like, this is so cool. And I just stayed out that night. I never called my mom or nothing. And I ended up drinking for the first time and had sex for the first time. And I went home the next day, and my mom chewed me out, of course. And I was still like, yeah, whatever. And I just kept going to the streets after time, and then the police started getting in my path, and they kept bringing me back home, and I'd leave that night and go. I just was drawn to the cities because I was isolated out in the suburbs. You know, my parents kept me in the house, so I just exploded. I was like, wow, this is so cool. Look at people spray painting on the walls, and it's just great out here. Life is great. And I felt I had freedom. It was great back then. And I started being very promiscuous, of course, and I started getting into drugs like meth and weed. I started taking ecstasy pills every day. Y'all, that is no joke. Ecstasy, that's not cool. I started to become bulimic, and as time went on and everything, I started prostituting. But in that, I came out with no diseases, thank God. But it's just, you know, it's like the streets are something that, I mean, as you guys as kids, and you think like, oh, well, our parents are always hard on us and whatnot or whatever. The streets are not what you think they are. When you step out there and you don't have your mama or your daddy holding your hand anymore, the world is going to get you because it's the devil's playground, you know? The devil will get you, and you're going to get caught up in this whole different world that you never thought you would be in. And nothing in the streets is free, nothing. And getting involved with all these guys and everything, I had to pay a price, you know? I went out there with no money, no clothes, no nothing, so I had to get it, right? And the guys would persuade me into, oh, you know, girl, I know how to get you all this or whatever. And they started getting my hair and nails done, and I started getting everything. I was like, this is the life. And, you know, sacrificing your body is nothing. Like, that's disgusting. You know what I mean? And to actually think that that's okay and that's how you should live, and these guys actually care about you, that's ridiculous, you know? And after some time, I just started getting sick of that lifestyle. It's like, yeah, I can't do this anymore. You know, it's very draining, you guys. It drains you, and your health just, evaporates, and I started to get really skinny. And I remember I went to court one time, and for being a runaway, of course. And I was so skinny, I made my mom cry the first time she saw me. Like, I don't think that was cry, like, I'm glad you're alive cry. It was cry because she was just hurt at the way I did myself like that. And, you know, I ended up joining a gang, and that caused, how I got out of it was God. I don't even know how I got out of it. But the scariest thing that happened in the gang was I got involved with the murder case, and I got stuck between the police and the gang members, and I didn't want to tell. The police were on me. Like, I don't know how they found me or my name, because I went out there with a different name. Back then it was Shay Shay. I don't know what that came from, but, you know, I guess it's cool to have one of those names. So that murder case was just, like, enough for me. I just, like, I can't do this, but I ended up testifying, and that worked out. But in the streets, I never found what I was looking for. I went out there searching for something, you know, to be filled. Something needed to be filled, and I thought it was through guys, but that did not work out. And the streets turned me into something I wasn't. You know, I grew up a sweet child. Like, I was really kind-hearted, and I turned so cold. Like, you guys don't understand. Well, you might. I don't know. I hated the world. I hated my life. I hated everyone around me. I fought all the time, whoever even looked at me wrong. I'm telling you, like, I was a different person. You guys see a smiley, giggly person, but I was mean. Like, I was mean. And I left the guys alone, of course, and I had to find somewhere to live. I couldn't, you know, because I was dependent on guys. Like, I was dependent on them. But when I was so sick of it, I was just like, I'm done with y'all. Y'all got to bounce, like, peace out. And so I had nowhere to go. So I ended up, like, asking people for money. Can I get some money, you know, for the bus and everything? And I would ride the train from downtown to the Mall of America all night long. And I would ride the 5 from Brooklyn Center all the way to the mall, like, all night, you guys. Like, it's crazy. And I'd live in abandoned houses, and I got in more trouble with the police and going to JDC a lot. And the police got to know my mom's name and my name. And they would always question, you know, why is this little girl out here at 4 in the morning just walking around? So, of course, you're going to get caught. Like, you're out there, and you're going to get caught one way or another. And every time they bring me to the police stations, I just run. Like, I would run out the building. And they bring me back to my mom's house sometimes, and I just leave, of course. And even in all the different relationships and people I got involved with, God kept revealing himself to me, saying, you know, you remember when you accepted me? You know, like, do you remember that I still care? You know, like, he was speaking to me, but I was just kind of pushing it aside because I was like, I don't know nothing about that God. That was just one-time kind of thing, and it turned everyone against me. I don't want nothing to do with it. And I ended up getting in a relationship, and I got pregnant at 17, and that got my attention. Like, it got my attention, y'all. Because I did not want kids like that. It was not my mindset ever, okay, I'm going to get pregnant. That's not, no. Mm-mm. And I was homeless, and I was thinking, when I actually found out I was pregnant, I just knew. I don't know how I knew, I just knew. I was sitting on the bus one day, I was like, I don't feel right. And I ended up going to get a pregnancy test, and I was pregnant. And I told my baby dad, and he was like, yeah, I'll be there and everything. But he wasn't. So I had to think about myself and my child. And I decided to get a job, and I worked 40-plus hours a week. And doing that, you know, I got extra cash in my pocket, and I started to feel independent a little, you know. I started taking responsibility for myself. And I ended up getting off of drugs and all that. I smoked cigarettes until I was 7 months pregnant, but the grace of God, nothing's wrong with my child. She's healthy as ever. God just has been always watching over my child, and I don't know. God loves me. I know he loves y'all too.